You're listening to Conversations with ClubRight, the podcast where we delve into what it's like owning a business in the fitness industry and offer practical insight to help you grow and thrive. It's been a challenging few years for us all, so join us every Tuesday for new episodes where we talk about everything from member retention in the economic climate we're currently in to building a long-term growth strategy for your club, as well as stories of when I ran my gym. So, I'm your host, Wayne Heath. Looking forward to getting into this episode. So, welcome back to episode 8 of Conversation with ClubRight. And first of all, going to make a slight apology. We missed last week, back in action this week, so ready to rock. And I've seen these questions for the first time myself, so this is really going to be fun because our producer put together some of the most common questions that gym owners ask. And I'm going to answer them as succinctly as I can, and hopefully help some listeners think about things they want to do, how they want to do stuff, how they might want to set up their business, become potentially thought-provoking, I'm guessing. And as I say, these questions, I've seen them for the first time, but looking through, I've been seeing these many times before. So I'm really looking forward to getting a little bit of an insight. So I guess looking at one of the first questions that I've got on the list in front of me is opening a gym a good idea? And is it a profitable business? Well, there's $1 million question. Like any business, of course it can be profitable, and of course it can be an absolute dog's breakfast if you do a bad job of it. But that's the same with any business. And I really do think it's thinking about how you make a profitable business is the same for whether it's gym, a shop, whatever line of business you go into yourself. You really have got to understand your numbers. And definitely opening up a gym is a great idea. And if you want to go out, help people achieve their goals, whether it be a weight loss goal, a strength goal, health and well-being overall, whatever that individual's goals are. And at this time of year, January, of course, start of a new year, it's always a big time for people wanting to achieve something. And if you're looking to open up a gym, when we opened our gym many years ago, it was fundamentally, of course, we wanted to make a business. We wanted to pay our bills and look after our family. But the overriding thing is we want to help people achieve their goals and their targets. And I think for me, that's the first thing that you need to think about. If you're opening a gym, that's what you have to be mindful of. And you want to make a difference to people. When it comes to being a profitable business, that's an interesting question, because looking at how you set your business up, it can be profitable if you understand your market. It will be profitable if you understand that you've not gone completely bonkers and spent a fortune on things you shouldn't have done, which you're then having to pay back with high lease values, etc. But think about a business plan. To be fair, having a business plan, and I most probably sound like a broken record, and anyone starting a new business of any type, gym or otherwise, has most probably heard more business plan mentions than you care to mention. Having said that, the reason there's a plan is that you've got an idea of what's going to work and what isn't going to work. And that's really, really important. If you know what your costs are, you can then start to build the profit into that business. And you can do that very cleverly with membership. And that's what we always do with our businesses. I always looked at quickly getting to as much recurring income that I needed to ensure that my bills were paid. And when I mean bills, I'm talking about the staff payroll. I'm talking about the lease to the premises, the lease you might have on your new equipment, etc. you've done to set up. Getting to that point as quick as you possibly can, for me, was the most important thing I actually recognized, because it then meant I could, dare I say it, sleep at night. I could actually relax and go, right, hey, my monthly fees are now covered. I've got all of that done. My memberships, I'll carry on selling monthly memberships, because the more I sell over that break-even point, the better position I'm in. But then, of course, someone who pays you in full for a year, maybe, you could argue that's a bonus in many respects. But getting to that point of regular recurring income that pays your bills and making sure you come up with the affordable products that your customers will purchase gets you into a profit situation much, much quicker. So another question that gets asked regularly is, I'm struggling to retain my staff. What should I do? Well, that is an interesting one because it's very often the case of trying to make sure you get the right person in the first place. Most probably will be your single biggest challenge. But take time over it because the right people will be a reflection on you, and it'll be a reflection on your vision of what you intend your business to be and what you want it to be seen as being. And staff will always be positive if there's a positive mindset further up the tail, where people want to make sure that it goes throughout the whole of the company from top to bottom. We've heard that so many times before. And, if things aren't working, it can sometimes breed maybe of a toxic type of environment, which is not good for anyone. And staff want to enjoy. No one really goes to work to do a bad job. They don't genuinely go out their way. Maybe a few people do, and you can wheedle those out really quickly, right? But the reality is we don't actually go out of our way to do a bad job, not most people. And they enjoy doing a good job because they want to enjoy their job and they want to earn a salary to pay their bills and enjoy their lives. So, and they want to retain their job. So they're not going to go out their way also to get a job and then ultimately lose it, because that's not really a great move either. And retaining staff is key for so many reasons. So what I would suggest is, especially in the industry that we're in, from a gym industry point of view, you've got to have the credentials and the training to be able to deliver personal training and the services that you want to deliver. If that's the kind of staffing job that you're looking for, there'll be other people that do maybe admin jobs, other people do reception jobs. Everyone will need to have the right skills. But overriding for me, it's always been skills can be taught. What can't often be taught is a genuine will to want to help people. And if you're in the fitness industry, you generally should enjoy working with people. If you don't, it's the wrong business. Simple as that. You should get out, think about not opening up a gym, do something totally different, right? Because it's all about people. It's a helping people, supporting people, and your members will be your support as the business grows, that's for sure. So in terms of staff, getting the right people for me to start with is finding someone that really enjoys working in a customer related environment. That's key. The other skills can be taught, that's for sure. And for certain roles, maybe like a personal trainer, you may have a certain level of attainment that you want them to have before they're able to go on the gym floor and prescribe any training or personal training services, which totally makes sense because that is very different to someone that might be working on reception or working in admin, because there's different skills involved. But overall, trying to make sure that you review with staff in one-to-ones just to understand, and so both parties understand what's required of a job day to day. Very easy to get in situations where people feel unloved, because that's really where, if you've got a good member of staff that wants to go, someone said to me many, many years ago that you spent all of this time getting this great person on board, and then you've now talking to me that they're a real pain in the backside. Why is that? And I remember saying to my boss at the time many years ago, saying, well, they're this, that, they're everything else. And he goes, no, you're wrong. Look at yourself. Said, what do you mean? He said, well, look at yourself. You are the one that took him on board. You're the one that's most probably let him down. And I actually took that quite to heart at the time and felt not say aggressive back towards my boss at the moment, but I started thinking, hey, you're talking rubbish. That's rubbish. You're telling me I've done a rubbish job as well now. But then I took time out to think about it, and I thought, you've got a point. You have got a very valid point, because if you've taken someone on board, assuming they haven't gone out of their way to do a bad job, based on that we said earlier, it most probably is the guidance and support that you as a business owner or manager provide that person to give them to help them do a good job. That is why good staff stay and bad staff cause you an inconvenience. That is the truth. Really look at yourself. Don't need to blame yourself, but have a structure, make it clear, make it very sure to your staff members to understand what you expect of them, but review it on a monthly basis, make it regular. Do what's helpful so that both parties know where they're going. It's probably my best advice when it comes to retaining staff. So, how should I deal with no shows in my classes? Wow, well, that's a challenging question because people do let you down. They do potentially not turn up for things, right? But a lot of it's about communication. I think if you are communicating to people that when they book their class, maybe online or face to face, they do get some kind of an email, maybe a push notification in their member app that tells them their class is booked at a time, on a date, etc. That to me is the first thing. If you're not telling people when their classes are once they booked, you're very reliant on that person remembering. And as human beings, we forget. We don't remember everything, right? And those reminders are quite important. In that sort of customer journey of making a booking, does an email go out 24 hours before the class to say, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Have a good evening, or whatever you might decide to put in that email. But have some kind of service that's built into your processes, which is obviously something we cover quite easily, but it makes it straightforward to have that journey of communication. So you've announced that they booked, you've reminded that they're going to be turning up because you're looking forward to seeing them. But then the other output of it is when they arrive, you acknowledge they've arrived. So you can acknowledge that they've arrived when they swipe in or use a QR code to acknowledge they turned up for the class. Or you may have your PT on a tablet device going through a list of people, just checking their names down and looking around the room. That's equally fine. That's an important factor because the output of no shows has a very negative impact on those that do bother. And that's one of the things that I'm always quite keen to point out is that look to those that make a religious fact to book the Monday Zumba class at 5 o'clock, but for the last 5 weeks, they've never turned up. To me, is the worst thing in the world. Unless you challenge that individual for doing that and not showing, that's really bad. Because what you've actually done is that's a space in time you can't sell again. So if you think about products, you've got a whole load of protein pots, tubs on a shelf behind reception. They'll be available to sell as long as the sell-by date's good, right? But a space in time, once that space has gone, you can't get it back. It's gone. So it's a moment of time you can't sell. So from a business point of view, we'll come back to the member bit a bit in a second, but from a business point of view, if someone is religiously booking and not showing, you're losing money every time a winner. And the reason I say that confidently is that space could have been purchased by someone that has never done a class with you, wants to buy a one-off session to find out if they like it, and they never had that chance because they couldn't book it because it was full. So there you're then looking at going, well, how do I then deal with those people? Well, have a process. Be clear with your customers to say, if you do fail to show up for a class more than once, for example, or more than twice, you will be restricted from booking that class for a certain period of time. So there's an element of, I don't know, penalty, penance, whatever you like to call it, but there's quite often people sit there and say, well, if you want to get a reaction, hurt them in their pocket. Well, if they enjoy those classes, what you've then done is remove their chance to book a class because they've stopped turning up. They booked it, which prevented you from earning some money. If it wasn't the case for the money side, it's also prevented another member who's got a membership who loved to go to that class, but didn't get a chance because they couldn't book it because Mr. Selfish decided not to let anyone know he's cancelling it. So have a process, make it clear to your members that if they can't make a class, cancel it within a certain period of time as part of your rules to make sure it's available for someone else to book. The reason you want someone to do that is you would like to think another member would do that for you. Just like, from one human being to another, is kind of being kind about making sure that those classes are available. And if you've kind of stopped someone selfishly booking it if they wanted to by not cancelling it because you know damn well you can't attend, make it very clear and call people out. I think it's quite an important thing. And your rules can do that. And you'll be surprised if people actually like the class as much as they typically do, they're prevented from doing something that they enjoy. That will annoy them. That will bring them into heel. And then they'll recognize that they need to sort of be a bit more sensible, a bit more kind towards making sure that their bookings aren't just wasted and stopping someone else from coming along. So that's kind of what I would look to do for no shows. Be clear on your process. Be very clear that you need to make sure if you're going to cancel it and you can't attend, do so. Because time, I'll keep mentioning that, cannot be retrieved. Can't get that time back, guys. So you want to open up a gym. We mentioned that earlier. And you really need to find the right location. The right location for a gym. Well, where do you start? I mean, could be a very, very in-depth subject on its own. And I'll try and abbreviate as best I can. In terms of finding the right location, it has a number of factors built into it. Of course, you need to know you can afford it. That's the first part. Making sure you can research the areas you're looking for. The type of business that you're looking for is another important part. Is it going to be well received in the area? And I suppose it's not so much the actual location. Well, I suppose it is. It's the location is the important part. Finding the premises almost comes at the back end of it. So finding the location, is it going to be just guided by how I hear sometimes people go, oh, yeah, it's got to be near a car park. You've got to have a car park. My gym's never had car parks. Never had a problem with car parking, so we didn't have one. We had plenty of parking nearby, 2 multi-stories and 1 in the marketplace. We had plenty of parking nearby, but we never owned our own car park. And the thing I learned with that is that if you did have a car park, you'll have complaints about the size of it. And the reason you have complaints about the size of it, because it will never be big enough. So you actually are better off not having a car park. It seems a crazy thing to say, but the availability of parking is important. I guess that. And the other way to look at it is, if you are looking at maybe a high street location, if we look at how the high streets have changed more and more and more, leisure is becoming a bigger and bigger part of the actual high street. And you can get different values of premises based on high street ground level, street level, or first floor level. To give an example, when we opened one of our gyms, we had, ground floor level, the rent was a 6-figure sum. In the same street, the rent we got for our first gym was 5 figures. Massive difference. In fact, so different, it was probably about 65, 70% less. But it was still in that high street. So don't always think you've got to be on street level. Street level's nice if you can afford it. It's the street, not so much where it is in the street. So you've got lots of areas now in high streets where offices, let's be fair, post-COVID, that's changed the landscape massively. People that have had premises that are huge, gone. They are splitting them up into smaller and more manageable units so that businesses can afford to have an office, because for some businesses, they might not all get together every day of the week. It's a very transient style of hot desking, whatever you like to call it. But that's how a lot of the high street has changed. But those premises, the bigger ones, have all been split up. So if you start to look at it like that, there's a lot more at first level than there is, and as well as street level, of course. But think about not discounting first floor. First floor can give you the right presence in the right place, but for a whole lot less money. It's a real big thing. And of course, along with the rent being cheaper, things like the business rates will be cheaper. You might have consideration to make for the noise that the gym may create. Planning office will help you with that. There will be maybe considerations for weight bearing on a first floor. I do understand that, but let's be fair, so many bits of equipment now are very well placed, and certain styles of business, it could be more of a studio style of business. We haven't got loads of heavy weighted machinery. It's a very different type of business that just needs to be soundproof potentially, and that's easy to do. It just soundproofs the building so it doesn't affect anyone else down below. But High Street, I think it's a great place for leisure now, because so much of retail has died back, opening up the opportunities. You've got locations for maybe much bigger spaces that you're looking for. They're going to be found maybe in industrial areas or out of town areas. Yet again, the out of town is going to be cheaper. Cost per square foot is going to be less. And of course, those kind of places will allow you to be in a location that's close to a road. Let's be a road. That sounds a bit random, doesn't it? But if you think about, it's close for regular commuting, for example. People have easy communications to get there. If you're in a town centre or a more of a high street scenario, you'll have the access of people coming to work there. You'll have people commuting by train, by bus. So there's lots of reasons why people will be in the area. When you're out of town, you've got to consider that people are going there because they have to go there. There's not another reason to be there so much. Yeah, so that's well worth taking on board as a consideration. I tend to quite often favour close to towns where other people are, because there's other reasons for them to be there, which makes it a lot easier to attract new customers for you. But location, it is about affordability. It is about the type of business you're looking to run. If you are looking for a big place, you're going to have to go industrial. You're never going to get 10, 15,000 square feet or more that's anywhere near affordable. And that's most probably the key bit. Anywhere near affordable on the high street. Just not going to happen. If you're more studio based or small gym based, and you're looking from 2,000 to 5,000 square feet, you're most probably going to find something in a high street location that will be within budget. But I think outside, you would certainly be needing to look to more of the industrial areas and outside town places. But do your research. I mean, it always, like anything, it's, we talk about business plans. This is very much part of your business plan. You need to know where you're going to be going. You need to know that your customers can get there, and they can get there with convenience. Consider also, and this is something that I think is more prevalent now than ever before, is more and more people are working from home. Therefore, their days of work have changed. I think we touched on this with Paul Gironi in one of our previous conversations, where more businesses in terms of gyms are busy during the times they used to be quiet. So during the day, people are able to leave home, have a bit of screen downtime, get themselves down the gym, do their session and come back. So making sure you're around areas where people can easily get to you. Don't think that that's not at the peak, what we traditionally thought were the peak times. There is a bigger peak time growing rapidly, which is in slap bang in the middle of the day, where people are able to take a break from work. They're closer to home. They're not away working in London or somewhere different. They're actually working from home, which means they want to take some screen time. They most probably happily take a wee walk up to the club, up to the gym. Don't even need to drive and park the car. So hence why I'm not worried about parking either. So from a location point of view, there's a lot to consider, and I really could talk a long time about it. But plan is all I can say. And think about where your customers are to make sure you can attract them to be there at the right place. So another question here, interesting one, and gets asked a lot. I feel pressured to try and be the cheapest. Is there another way to compete against budget gyms? $1 million question. And I will always take this back to something we did touch on a previous episode. It's all about the value of your product, understanding what your product is more than just the cheap side of it. So, for example, you look at a budget airline. What do budget airlines do now? It's a cheap seat. Then you pay for food. Then you pay for your luggage. Then you pay for your seating position. Wasn't really cheap at all, was it? And that's the way to look at it. Cheap is cheap at the end of the day. Not in all cases, because certain things are just great value. But if you look at affordability and good value, that's what people are really after. Being ridiculously cheap is never the easiest thing. You could get the cheap gyms, and especially this time of year, I know, from many people I speak to that, you could get one of the big budget chains where the places are just rammed out. There's loads of people in there and you're standing around to even get on a piece of equipment, which is very frustrating. You've taken time out from your day, working from home or whatever you might be doing, to get there and then realize that the piece of equipment you wanted to use is unavailable or broken. Typically happens a lot. So having a value proposition that is affordable is where you come in, and analyzing why customers come to you in the first place. So it depends on which end of the market you are, whether you're starting a gym from the beginning or you've got an existing gym. But this question typically tends to come about where someone's an existing gym owner, not so much starting a gym. So an existing gym owner may be feeling the pinch, thinks that the only way to actually work against the budget gym down the road is to actually sit back and go, do you know what I'm going to do? I have to lower my prices to match them because I'm not going to survive otherwise. Now, you could think about it in a slightly different way. What you could do is take a bit of time out and do some research. Sounds a bit easy to do, or maybe difficult to do. I don't know. It depends which way you look at it. But it's difficult to think about approaching your customers to ask them why they like your business. I think if you can try and start to work and understand why people enjoy coming to your business, then you'll start to understand the value that they have. And you're then starting to make sure that you're at the right price point, because your customers will tell you. And then you talk about the value. So when you're marketing your business, you're marketing the values of your business. One of the classic examples of people not discounting and breaking their price strategy is Apple. As much as we hate the fact that they're expensive, we all buy them, and I'm one of the biggest converts, bar none. I've got the iPhone, I've got the iPad. I haven't got the watch yet, but all my kids have got the watch, the phone, and the iPad, right? And you sit there thinking, well, someone's got something right. And did I ever get a discount? No, never got a discount at all, because I bought into the product because I saw I wanted to buy it. I saw it had value, and it had value to me. So it's not always about being the cheapest. It's about having a product that people want to buy. So are you offering a membership that includes classes, for example? Now, if it's a membership that includes classes and someone sees that you are doing classes differently, and clearly the budget gym down the road doesn't do any classes at all, they'll most probably pay you a little bit more for that, and you'll win that customer. You'll also have many situations where someone joins the budget gym and then outgrows the budget gym. That may have got them into the habit of trying to do exercise, but they want to start to be a bit more disciplined, a bit more structured, a bit more knowledgeable about what they're doing. And turning up to jump on a treadmill when they get a chance isn't maybe floating their boat anymore. They've got the bug. They want to do something different, and classes may well be part of it. It may well be that there's someone to talk to on the gym floor to have a chat with and say, well, how do I do this exercise? And people are happy to help you. It's all about a package of affordability of services, not necessarily just becoming the cheapest, then offering all those services, and then potentially folding yourself. Because what have you achieved then? You haven't achieved anything. Lowering the price is not going to be the solution to battle against what you believe is the cheapest budget gym down the road. It's about understanding your product, why people like your product, and pitching your price at the right point. You'll understand that, and you'll understand that by your customers, because you can easily turn around to people and say, well, hang on, if I put my prices up, would you still pay for it? And you'd be surprised how many people most probably still would, if they're enjoying it enough and they see the value that they've got a gym membership plus classes as well. They see value in it, right? Why would they want to stop doing it? So all about value, all about being affordable, but please ask your customers what they like, because if you start to understand that question better, you know how to approach the new customer that you're looking for. So, interesting question. I run a small class studio and currently take payments by bank transfer or PayPal. I would go like that there. Um, I want to make it easier to get paid, but getting into direct debits feels a little bit advanced for my business. Is that really the case? Well, anyone can get into direct debits if you've got the right system to do it. That's first and foremost. And taking bank transfers and PayPal, I mean, PayPal and other services are also quite expensive, I hasten to add, but they don't integrate or work with other membership systems like ours, for example. And it creates a lot of time taken up. You know, you might be doing your classes during the day. You then finish your classes at 10 o'clock at night. You're then sitting there trying to work out who paid, did they pay, how did they pay, and then seeing where the money is, counting out the cash, working out what the bank transfers were. Did they get transferred? Did PayPal pay me my money? You know, it's a pain, to be honest. It takes up a lot of time. And direct debit can be a very affordable, easy, simple way of taking money on a regular basis. Successful businesses are recurring income businesses. I'll go back to one of the questions that we had at the beginning of this session. It was all about making sure you want to make the business a sustainable business and is having a gym profitable. So take that back one bit. I did talk about a lot about recurring income. Recurring income collected by direct debit is an assured way of getting the money that helps you pay your bills. And there's lots of different ways to do it. So a class studio in this example could be having certain number of sessions as part of the membership that you pay for directly by direct debit each month, and it gives them so many sessions per week, so many sessions per month, for example. Now, that can be easily managed. If that person gets to a certain level where they've used up all their sessions, so say they have 5 sessions a month and they've used them up, they can then pay extra by card. But the direct debit is your regular income coming in, 40, 50 pounds a month or whatever you might be charging for those services. It's simple and it's easy. You know, people understand it. It's not new. It's a very sure way of doing things. It's very easy to see money coming into your bank account. It's transferred quickly, money taken, typically paid 2 to 3 days after it's collected into your bank. But you're building up a feeling of strength and quality in your business's financials that you are building that regular income. So many businesses during COVID, and I mentioned COVID, it's a great example of this, is where people did not have recurring income, might have had the odd bank transfer, might have had the odd PayPal payment, but they're all one-offs. And those one-offs stopped in COVID, literally stopped overnight. Nothing anyone could have ever done about it, and no one ever anticipated it happening, right? But it did. But recurring income most probably would have continued. You could have gone online, still taking money regularly because you're still offering your service into their homes, which is one of the many things that we worked on during that COVID period. And people still paid because they still wanted that studio that you spent and they enjoyed time in opening again when the doors were able to be open. So that direct debit service allowed so many businesses during the biggest crisis in the world, certainly my lifetime I've ever seen, to carry on paying their bills. It was just an incredible, easy way to do it. And direct debit made that possible. So if you've got a business that's got one customer, hopefully a bit more than one, but hey, it doesn't have to be hundreds or thousands of customers. Do not think you can't do direct debit because you're too small. I think it's quite easy for people to feel that I'm small, I can't do direct debit. Well, you can. It's possible and it's easy. And it doesn't matter what size you are, taking money regularly and easily that you can quantify and see coming into your business with little or no admin, I hasten to add, it really doesn't matter what size you are. You don't have to be one of a really big budget gym chain down the road with thousands of members to have the ability to take direct debit. It's available to everybody. It's not a problem. Whether you're a sole trader, a limited business, partnership, makes no difference whatsoever. You can set up direct debits and you can make your life easy and grow a recurring income in your business, which will be the strength of your business. And of course, the admin side, I look at that such a lot because it's one of the things we help so many customers with on a daily basis. And I think sometimes if someone's had no software, no process, or no ability to take money regularly like this electronically by direct debit, for example, they went back to how it was before doing it, they'd be horrified. They would struggle, absolutely struggle. So we know that businesses doing one-off payments or bank transfers or PayPal have an enormous admin burden. And that admin burden is your time when the business is closed that you're actually still devoting to your business, which could be time back with your family. So I would say recommend Direct Debit is available for everyone of all sizes. So a really great question to sum up with here as well. I feel like I'm doing everything I can to try and retain my members. Why are my attrition rates still high? Well, there's lots of, I could talk about this subject for absolutely hours, but we haven't got hours to talk about it. But, thinking about the easy wins that you can have, clearly one of the first ones is talk to your customers. Say hello when they arrive. Say goodbye when they go. Even if you just do that, they've been acknowledged. First and foremost, being acknowledged is the most important thing, bar none. And I will touch on it briefly before I go on to what I think is more important is in terms of the customer journey. But coming back to what we're talking about of acknowledgement of customers when they come in, make sure that you do acknowledge them. Say hello, say good morning, say good evening, and say goodbye to them, because there's no reason why the chance of that person coming in that day has been the last time they might not been in for the gym for a while. They're thinking that, not too sure about continuing my membership. I'm going to go down today, just see what I feel about it. And when they get there, no one talks to them. And at that point, they carry on. They might do their session, leave relatively quickly, and never come back because no one bothered to say anything to them. And for me, that's one of the biggest things that staff and everyone should always do is be friendly, personable, and want to be a smiley face. Yeah, that's really, really important because people enjoy that kind of customer side of things. We've talked about that a lot in the previous episode, but having a journey that people can recognize that they've been acknowledged for the activities they're doing, equally being acknowledged for the activities they're not doing, is really quite important. And having your membership journey set up in an automated fashion will make your life easier. Now, we've all got some great ideas. I'm not really going to sit here and talk about lots of different ideas because we've all got plenty of them. The difference with an idea is that any idea is a good one until proven otherwise. Now, a bad idea is an idea that wasn't tried. And if you're trying an idea, test it, measure it, and then make a decision whether it worked or not. But have it processed in a way that you can send out communications, for example, to retain your members. It could be, regular, maybe surveys, for example. You could send out surveys to check, are they happy with the cleanliness of the building? Are they happy with the opening times? Or various different questions you want to get answers to. Having contact means that people know you care. Being in contact with customers is the most important thing because people really hate being unloved. It's a natural human nature. We want to be noticed, we want to be cared for, we want to be acknowledged. And that can be done easily outside the business with lots of different communications. So, retaining a member, classes are a real big retention tool. Now, I know not every gym wants to do classes, and I'm personally not a lover of classes. It's one of the things that I actually feel quite intimidated by, believe it or not. But it's not a thing for me, but everyone's different. They've got all different things that they enjoy doing. But classes are really important for a lot of people because they enjoy the bonding with others. And that's what a class brings, that community feel. It's all a sense of belonging. We're all in it together. We're all off to go. And I suppose if I say I don't like classes, but I think if I go back to when I learnt to ski, one of the best times of skiing actually was the ski school because we're all rubbish and we're all falling over. It was great. We're all in the same boat, right? So that sense of community existed within that class at ski school. And it's no different with classes. People go for companionship. They go to meet people. They enjoy talking with other people. If they're quite shy, getting to that class could be a challenge. It's not what they want to do, but they really push themselves to do it. And if they're acknowledged, so they're new to that class, first time they've arrived, make sure you acknowledge that first time they've arrived. So if you can see on your search systems that today this person's arrived for the first time they've ever done a Zumba class, for example, well, acknowledge that. Send them an email, send them a push notification, send them a notification that says, high five, you've done really well. Great to see you on your first session here today. It's little things that will make a difference. And as you do that, you start to build up a whole myriad of communication that's automated. But don't automate it, or don't say, yes, automate it, of course, but don't sit there and try to do everything, because that will equally not work. That's kind of what they call the old splatter bomb technique. It's just not very well thought through. If you think about what you're trying to achieve, so what are you going to do with customers that are new to the business or new to a class? Like we just said just now, someone who's totally new to that class, what kind of communication do you want to send them? What kind of communication do you want to send to someone who has been regularly attending? You want to acknowledge them so they carry on attending regularly, don't you? So if you can actually see in your systems that they've now attended 10 times recently, and you've set up an award that says, right, you've hit 10 times, here's an award, high five, coming along 10 times to hit Zumba. Cracking, smash it, well done. That's kudos then. You're now kind of gone past making sure the new person felt loved. You're now loving the person that's coming along regularly and making sure that they feel good about it. And of course, there's the other side of it, is that everyone feels good. They're most probably going to tell their friends they feel good. And then you've got recommendations on the back of it. But what I'm trying to say is think about what you're going to do and then do it. Don't just think about a whole load of ideas and do half a job or not do a very good job. Think about the purpose and why you're doing it. And as examples there, existing customers need to be loved as much as a brand new customer, for example, as much as someone who didn't turn up. So we talked about that earlier a little bit, where you might want to there may be certain serial not turn uppers, for want of a better word, no shows. But you look at those people, well, maybe that person wasn't well that day. Just maybe something happened in their life that meant they couldn't turn up. What would be wrong rather than someone no-show, Mark, is sending them the first time, there was obviously a strike one, maybe. Strike one, no-show, should be an empathetic, sympathetic, note to say, well, I haven't seen you today, everything okay? Let us know if not, if we can do anything to help, fine, look forward to seeing you again soon. Something along those lines, because anything could have happened in their life that stopped them from coming today, but it may not just be a genuine reason to not cancel their appointment. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of looking at different reasons and different parts of the journey. And the journey for retaining people is all about making sure you think about the reasons why they might want to go. That's the reason you need to look at communication. Communication is sent out for no real purpose. It's just a waste of time. But if you're sending out a communication because you generally care that that person missed their slot for the first time ever today, great, do it, because there will be a reason why that customer will be really quite touched to think, I actually they did even bother to ask if I was okay. Might be totally fine, but you bothered. Someone who comes along regularly, they get high five to celebrate their regular success. That's fantastic. And then the person that's joined a class for the very first time, yet again, celebrate that. So 3 examples as to how you can retain people. Maybe a lot of it's done from a class's point of view, but look at it from a gym point of view. Same kind of thing. First time they've arrived in the gym, let's high five. Let's acknowledge that. Let's give them something back to say, great, seeing you for the first time, welcome, looking forward to seeing you next time. If they've been coming along regularly and you can see that you're swiping in their attendances every time they arrive in the gym, no different to attending a class. It's a genuine attendance. They're not doing a class, they're just using the gym. You high five and reward and celebrate their success in coming along regularly. Loyalty rewards are such a nice thing to be able to do for people regularly coming along to an event, which is their class. That event is a class. Or using a gym is exactly what they really enjoy doing, but it can be monotonous. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. It's like, it's just 3 times a week. But if someone's acknowledging it, giving you a bit of a high five and a bit of kudos, it's a bit like going to the coffee shop and getting your coffee card reward thing stamped, isn't it? It makes you feel wanted. And you can do that in just the same way with normal gym attendance. It hasn't all got to be class related, but retaining people, it's all about those people, your members, being noticed. It's when people feel unloved is when they actually tend to want to leave. Not always about the price, and it won't necessarily always be about, the kind of things that you think it is. It's all about making sure that they feel loved and cared for and actually wanted. Respected, I suppose, is also a really good word. Feel like they're respected, that you respect the business that they pay you every month for. Even after running a gym for many years, there's always an opportunity to learn something new. And thank you for our producer for putting those poignant questions together for me. So that was great, even though I only read them just about 5 minutes ago. No, joking. Let us know if you like the style of the episode, because as always, really feel free to reach out to us on socials and for a chat about this episode. We'd love to continue the conversation there as well. And rounding up, I can't believe we've always come to rapidly approaching the end of month 1 of the year. But next week is our penultimate episode of the season 2. Be sure to tune in, and we'll see you next week for episode 9. Thanks for listening. We really want to help as many business owners in the fitness industry as we can. So if you know someone who could also benefit from listening to our episodes, remember to share it with them. That's really important. I want to get that message out there. And if you're enjoying conversations with ClubRight, hopefully you are, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.